Some moments hit you so suddenly that your heart reacts before your mind understands why. That was exactly what happened to Lena that evening, the moment he caught her completely off guard. She had been trying all day to keep herself together. Trying to smile. Trying to stay focused. Trying not to let anyone notice how overwhelmed she actually was. But Noah noticed. He always did. Even when she tried to hide it, he had this quiet way of watching her that wasn't intrusive or intense, just gentle. Like he could sense shifts in her breathing long before she realized she was holding it. And that evening, right when she thought she had finally gotten control of her emotions, everything tipped. It happened in the hallway outside the rehearsal room. The community center was always noisy, but that night felt louder than usual. Too many conversations happening at once. Too many footsteps. Too many eyes she didn't want on her. Lena stepped out, hoping the hallway would feel calmer. It didn't. Her thoughts followed her out like a wave she couldn't get ahead of. She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes for just a moment. Just a moment to breathe, to steady herself, to pretend she wasn't seconds away from unraveling. She didn't hear him at first. Noah walked out behind her with such quiet steps that she only realized he was there when he spoke softly from her left. "Lena, are you okay?" She tensed, startled. She turned her head slightly, expecting to see concern or pity on his face. But what she saw instead was something different, something calm, steady, and quietly understanding. That look alone nearly dissolved her. He wasn't judging. He wasn't prying. He was simply there. And somehow, that made it harder to keep everything bottled up. Lena forced a small laugh, trying to brush it off. "I'm fine, just needed a second. It's been a long day." Noah didn't challenge her. He didn't press. But he also didn't leave. He stood a comfortable distance away, leaning his shoulder against the opposite wall like he wasn't in a hurry, like nothing about her emotions scared him. "Do you want to step outside?" he asked softly. "Just for some air." She opened her mouth to decline. To say she was okay. To pretend she wasn't on the verge of breaking. But then she felt it, her voice shaking before she even spoke. Noah noticed instantly. He took a slow breath, the kind that tried to encourage hers. "I'll go with you," he added. "Only if you want." Something about the way he said it, gentle, not demanding, made her chest loosen a little. So she nodded. They walked out the side door into the cool evening air. The temperature had dropped after sunset, carrying a soft breeze that brushed against her arms and cooled the heat in her throat. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Lena wrapped her arms around herself and looked up at the sky, wishing she could sort her thoughts into neat categories instead of the mess they had turned into. Noah stood beside her, hands in his pockets, eyes on the ground. It wasn't awkward. It was quiet in a peaceful way, like he was giving her time to gather the words she couldn't find yet. After a long moment, Noah broke the silence. "You don't have to tell me what's wrong," he said calmly. "But you don't have to pretend with me either." Her breath caught. Those words, those simple words, felt like someone reaching into a tangled knot inside her and gently loosening the threads. She blinked quickly, trying to keep her eyes from stinging. "I'm just tired," she murmured. "And everything feels heavy. I don't know why." Noah nodded, still watching the ground. "I get it," he said. "Some days stack on top of each other until you can't tell which weight belongs to which moment anymore." She stared at him. That was exactly how it felt. And the surprising part was, he somehow understood it without her needing to explain. For the first time that day, her shoulders lowered a little. She let out a shaky exhale. "Noah, thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to walk out so suddenly." "You don't have to be sorry," he replied gently. "You're allowed to step away when you need to. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed. And you're definitely allowed to have a moment." Something warm spread through her chest. But before she could respond, Noah shifted slightly, turning to face her more fully. And when she looked up, she saw something in his expression she had never seen before. A softness. A sincerity. A quiet protectiveness that caught her completely off guard. It made her heartbeat stumble. And that was the moment everything changed. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Lena didn't know what Noah was about to say next. But the look in his eyes made it clear that whatever it was would matter. Maybe more than she expected. Some moments don't arrive loudly. They slip in quietly, changing everything before you even understand what's happening. That was exactly what Lena felt as she stood there under the evening sky, watching Noah with her heartbeat thudding a little too fast. He looked like he wanted to say something. Like he had been holding it in for a long time. Like this was the moment he finally decided he couldn't keep it to himself anymore. But then, he stopped. He glanced away, taking a small breath as if choosing a safer path. Lena wished she could pretend she didn't notice the shift, but she felt it instantly. "What?" she whispered. "You looked like you were going to say something." Noah let out a soft, almost embarrassed laugh. "I was. But I don't want to add pressure when you're already overwhelmed." She shook her head. "You're not adding pressure. Just, talk to me." He took a second, his eyes searching hers carefully. "You just seemed like you needed someone to stand with you," he said slowly. "And I wanted you to know I'm here, not because I have to be, but because I want to be." Her breath stilled for a moment. Something about those words felt heavier than he made them sound. Gentle. Honest. But holding more meaning underneath. She swallowed softly. "Noah, you don't need to take care of me." "I know," he replied. "But I care. That's different." Her chest tightened. She wasn't sure how to respond to that. Not when her emotions were already fragile. Not when Noah's steady softness made everything inside her feel warm and unsteady at the same time. For a moment, they both stood quietly again. The breeze picked up, brushing past them, rustling a few leaves along the pavement. Lena rubbed her hands together for warmth. Without hesitating, Noah slipped off his jacket and held it out to her. She blinked. "You don't have to. It's chilly," he said simply. "Please." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't one of those grand gestures people bragged about in stories. It was gentle. Thoughtful. The kind of gesture that meant more than she expected. She took it slowly. The fabric was warm, holding a faint, familiar scent she couldn't quite identify, something clean, something comforting. She wrapped it around herself and tried not to let the feeling of safety overwhelm her. "Thank you," she murmured. Noah nodded, leaning back against the railing beside her. "I know today was rough. But Lena, you don't have to carry things alone." She looked at him, surprised by how steady and sincere he sounded. It almost made her want to confess everything she had been keeping inside. Every worry, every frustration, every moment she had swallowed back tears instead of asking for help. But she wasn't ready. Not yet. Still, she wanted him to know something. "You being here, it helps more than you realize," she said softly. For the first time that evening, Noah's expression shifted into something almost shy. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "I'm glad," he said. "I didn't want to overwhelm you." "You're not," she replied quickly. "Actually, you're the only person who doesn't feel overwhelming right now." He looked down at that, and she swore she saw his cheeks warm just a little. They stood quietly again, but this time the silence felt different. Not heavy. Not full of tension. Just comfortable. Like they were both breathing easier. After a moment, Noah spoke again, his voice gentle. "Lena, can I ask you something?" She turned to him, nodding once. "Of course." He hesitated just long enough to make her feel something flutter inside her chest. "Earlier," he said slowly, "when you walked out, were you trying to get away from everything? Or were you trying to get away from me?" She stared at him, stunned. "From you," she repeated. "No. Never." He nodded, looking relieved. "I wasn't sure. I didn't want to assume." She took a soft step closer, not even realizing she did it until she felt the warmth of being nearer to him. "Noah, you're not someone I walk away from," she said quietly. "If anything, you're one of the few people I feel safe around." His breath caught so subtly she almost missed it. Something in his posture softened. His shoulders lowered. His gaze, usually steady, warmed with something deeper. "Lena," he murmured, almost like her name meant something to him he wasn't ready to explain yet. She felt her pulse quicken again. It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. Slow. Gentle. Like her name carried weight in his voice. Before she could ask what that meant, the sound of a distant door opening inside the building echoed out into the evening, pulling both of their attention for just a moment. When they looked back at each other, something unspoken hung between them. Something neither of them was quite ready to name. Not yet. But soon. Very soon. And it scared Lena a little. And warmed her even more. Something was shifting. Something she didn't expect. Something she wasn't sure she was ready for. But she couldn't deny it anymore. Not when the look in his eyes was slowly changing. And she wasn't sure her heart was prepared for what came next. Some moments feel like they happen in slow motion. Not because time truly slows, but because your heart pays attention in a way your mind can't ignore. That was exactly what happened to Lena the moment Noah took a small step toward her. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't bold. It was just close enough that the air between them felt different. The soft evening breeze brushed past her, but she barely felt it. All she could sense was him, steady, calm, quietly searching her expression as if trying to decide whether he should say the words sitting on the tip of his tongue. Lena, he began gently, there's something I've been wanting to tell you for a while now. Her breath caught. She wasn't ready. Her heart wasn't steady. And the look in his eyes made everything inside her feel warm and unsteady. But he stopped again. He exhaled, ran a hand through his hair, and looked away like he was fighting with himself. She frowned slightly. Noah, what's wrong? He shook his head. It's nothing. I just don't want to say the wrong thing. She stepped a little closer, just enough that their shoulders were only a few inches apart. You won't, she whispered. Noah looked at her, then really looked at her. And the softness in his eyes made her heart drop into her stomach. Okay, he murmured. But before I say anything, promise me you'll tell me if I make you uncomfortable. You won't, she said again, even quieter this time. He gave her a small, almost nervous smile. And then he spoke. You're strong, Lena. Stronger than you think. But even strong people get tired. And you don't let anyone see that part of you. Her lips parted slightly. No one had ever said it like that before. Noah continued, voice soft and steady. You hide your hurt because you don't want to be a burden. You keep everything inside because you think people won't understand. But I do. She swallowed hard. Her throat felt tight. Her eyes stung. And she hated that she couldn't stop them. But Noah wasn't finished. I see how much you give, he murmured. How hard you try. How much you carry without asking for help. And I just want you to know that you don't have to pretend around me. A single tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. She quickly wiped it away, embarrassed. But Noah reached out slowly, gently, and his fingers brushed her cheek before she could move her hand. It wasn't intimate. It wasn't bold. It was just kind. The kind of gesture that made her feel seen in a way she wasn't used to. She froze. Noah froze. But neither of them stepped back. Still, he lowered his hand immediately, as if afraid he crossed a line. I'm sorry, he said softly. I didn't mean to. It's okay, she whispered. Her voice was barely a breath. He exhaled in relief. The tension between them shifted again, this time into something quieter, deeper, more unspoken than either of them was prepared for. Lena looked down at the ground, her voice trembling. Why do you care this much, Noah? He hesitated too long. And that hesitation alone made her look up again. His expression was soft, but conflicted. It's not something I can answer in one sentence, he said finally. She waited. He took another breath. I care because you matter to me, he said. More than I planned for. More than I expected. More than I probably should. Her heart skipped. More than he should. She didn't understand, but she felt that sentence sink into her in a way she couldn't ignore. Noah, she whispered, not knowing what to say. His voice lowered even more. Lena, when you walked out earlier, something inside me reacted before I could think. I just wanted to make sure you weren't hurting alone. That made her chest ache. Not in a painful way. In the way that happens when someone cares so much you don't know how to hold the weight of it. Before she could respond, The wind shifted, sending a cool gust across the parking lot. Lena shivered lightly. Noah saw it instantly. "You're getting cold. We should go inside," he said softly. But Lena shook her head. "Not yet." His eyebrows lifted slightly. "You sure?" She nodded. "I don't want to go back in right now." He nodded once, gently. "Then we won't." He didn't ask for explanations. He didn't push her to talk more. He didn't make the moment heavier than it already was. He just stayed. Quiet. Steady. Close enough that she could feel warmth radiating from him. A part of her feared what came next. Because everything about this moment felt like a turning point. Like he was about to say something that would change everything. But before either of them could speak again, the side door opened. A familiar voice called out into the night. "Lena. Noah. Are you out here?" They both froze. Someone was coming. And the moment between them shattered. Not painfully, but abruptly enough to leave them both breathless. Whatever Noah had been about to say, whatever she had been ready to hear, would have to wait. But not for long. Because neither of them could pretend this moment didn't happen. Not anymore. Some interruptions feel tiny on the surface. But inside, they shake something loose. That was exactly how it felt for Lena when the door opened and a familiar voice cut across the quiet moment she and Noah had been sharing. It was Mara, one of the volunteers from the rehearsal group. Her footsteps echoed lightly as she stepped outside. "There you two are," she said, a little breathless. "We were wondering where you disappeared to." Lena forced a small smile, even though her heart was nowhere near steady. "Just needed some air." Mara nodded sympathetically. "Understandable. It's pretty hectic in there tonight." Noah stayed quiet beside her, hands tucked into his pockets, expression calm. But Lena could feel it. A shift. A pull. Something he had tucked away the second someone else walked outside. Mara continued talking for another moment before heading back in, telling them she'd save their seats in case they returned. The door clicked shut again. And the silence they were left with felt completely different than the one before. Lena swallowed softly. "You were saying something," she murmured. Noah exhaled slowly, his breath visible in the cool night air. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I was." She waited. He didn't continue. Instead, he stared toward the dark parking lot like he was trying to piece his thoughts back together. "Noah," she whispered. "Did I do something wrong?" His head snapped toward her instantly. "What? No. Of course not. Then why do you look like you want to step back from me?" He winced, barely, but she caught it. "I'm not stepping back," he said gently. "I'm just trying not to say something at the wrong moment." "What moment would be the right one?" she asked softly. He hesitated. And in that small pause, she felt her chest tighten. "Noah, you can talk to me," she said. "Whatever it is. I can handle it." He let out a soft, almost frustrated breath. "It's not about you handling it. It's about me not wanting to make your day heavier than it already is." "You're not," she whispered. He smiled, not his usual calm smile, but a conflicted, slightly tired one. "I don't want to say something important while you're overwhelmed," he said. "It feels unfair." Lena shook her head. "No. What feels unfair is you carrying something you clearly want to say." He went quiet again. She took one careful step closer. "Noah," she said softly, "you care about me. You said that." He nodded. "I do. And I care about you," she continued, voice trembling more than she wanted it to. "A lot. Probably more than I meant to." His breath caught, just barely. And for the first time since Mara had interrupted them, he looked at her with something completely unguarded. Something raw. Something warm. Something he couldn't hide even if he tried. "Lena," he murmured, voice sinking low. She waited, heart pounding. But instead of speaking, he looked down at her hands, her fingers curled inside the sleeves of his jacket. Without thinking, he reached out and gently covered her hand with his. The warmth of his touch spread through her instantly. It wasn't bold. It wasn't too much. It was just enough for her to feel everything he wasn't saying. Her voice softened. "Noah, what are you afraid of?" He closed his eyes for a brief moment. And when he opened them again, she saw something new there. Fear. Hope. And something deeper he hadn't planned to reveal. I'm afraid, he whispered, that if I say everything I'm feeling, I won't be able to take it back. The words hit her with quiet force. He wasn't scared of her. He wasn't scared of what she felt. He was scared because his feelings had grown too strong to undo. Her breath trembled. Noah, I don't want you to take it back. He stared at her, stunned like her words knocked the air out of him. She took another tiny step closer, so close now that she could feel his warmth even through the cold air. Whatever you're holding in, she whispered, you don't have to hide it from me. He lifted her hand fully into his slowly, carefully, as if giving her every second to pull away. She didn't. He swallowed hard, his voice almost quiet enough for the wind to steal it. Lena, the truth is, But before he could finish, the door behind them opened again. This time it was louder. Clearer. Closer. Noah. Lena. They're asking for you inside. The voice belonged to Mark, one of the coordinators. Noah's hand tensed around hers, just for a moment, before he gently let go. Another interruption. Another moment slipping through their fingers. But this time, Lena saw something in Noah's eyes she hadn't seen before. Determination. This wasn't over. Not even close. As Mark walked back inside, Noah turned to her with a quiet intensity that sent a shiver through her. We'll finish this, he murmured. I promise. And Lena's heart, for the first time that entire day, felt steady. Even if she didn't know what he was going to say next, she knew it mattered. She knew it would change everything. And she knew she wanted to hear it. Some truths don't arrive all at once. They build slowly, until suddenly they can't stay quiet any longer. That was exactly what Noah felt as he and Lena walked back into the community center. The noise hit them immediately. People talking. Chairs moving. Music playing again in the rehearsal room. But none of it mattered. Not compared to the unfinished words waiting between them. They stepped inside, and Mark waved them over, asking a quick question about the schedule for the next practice. Noah answered politely. Lena nodded along. On the surface, it was all normal. But underneath, every heartbeat felt louder than the music. When the conversation ended, they stepped aside into a quieter corner of the hallway. Not outside. Not far away. Just enough space for the world to stop pressing in. Lena looked up at him, her voice soft. You said we'd finish this. Noah nodded once. We will. But he didn't start right away. He took a breath. Deep, steady, the kind someone takes when they're about to cross a line they've been afraid to touch for a long time. Lena, he said gently, I need you to know something before I say anything else. She waited, hands tucked into the sleeves of his jacket. He stepped a little closer. I never wanted to overwhelm you, he said. And I never wanted to risk losing what we already have. That's why I kept holding back. Her heart tightened. She understood every word. Because she had done the same. He continued quietly. But tonight, seeing you walk away, seeing you upset, something shifted in me. I couldn't pretend anymore. Lena's voice was barely a whisper. Noah, just say it. He nodded, as if giving himself permission. Okay, he breathed. The truth is, I care about you more than a friend. More than someone I just see every week. More than I tried to convince myself I should. Her breath trembled. He wasn't done. I've been trying to hold it back, he said, voice softer now. Trying to stay where you felt comfortable. Trying not to push. But every time I'm around you, I find myself wanting to be closer. Her eyes burned with warmth. Not from sadness. From something gentler. Something familiar. Noah, she whispered. He shook his head slightly. I'm not asking for anything from you. I just couldn't keep pretending that what I feel is small. It isn't. Lena felt her heartbeat quicken. Because every word he said echoed something she hadn't admitted out loud yet. Slowly, carefully, she stepped close enough that her shoulder brushed his. Noah, she murmured, you weren't the only one holding something back. His eyes lifted to hers. And she saw it. hope flickering through the worry. I didn't know how to tell you, she whispered. I didn't want to ruin anything. I didn't want to make things complicated. But tonight, you made me feel safe enough to be honest. He swallowed, barely able to hide the emotion in his expression. What are you saying? She took a breath. I care about you too, she said. More than I meant to. More than I tried to stop. And I don't want to pretend anymore either. For a full moment, he didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't blink. Then the tension in his shoulders eased, like something heavy finally released. Thank you, he whispered. You don't know how long I've wanted to hear that. She smiled softly. I think I do. The hallway around them stayed noisy. But it all felt distant now. Because something between them had settled into place. Something real. Something steady. Something they had both been circling around for far too long. Noah looked at her gently. What do we do now? Lena let out a soft, almost nervous laugh. Maybe we don't have to figure everything out tonight. He nodded. Yeah. We can take it slow. She stepped closer. Not a big move, just enough that their hands brushed naturally at their sides. Noah glanced down. She didn't pull away. And neither did he. Their fingers grazed again. Then tangled quietly without either of them forcing it. The touch was simple. Warm. Steady. Exactly like the kind of beginning they needed. Noah exhaled, a small, relieved smile forming. This feels right. She nodded. It does. He squeezed her hand gently, not asking for anything more than the moment they already shared. You know, he said softly, you caught me off guard today. Lena lifted an eyebrow. Me? You're the one who said all the surprising things. He shook his head with a quiet laugh. No. What caught me off guard was realizing how much I wanted to protect your heart. How much I wanted to be the person you could turn to. And how much it mattered that you wanted me here. Her chest warmed. Then stay, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere, he said gently. And he meant it. They walked back toward the rehearsal room together, side by side, hands still intertwined. The rest of the night felt lighter. Warmer. Different. Not because everything was resolved. But because everything was finally honest. No more hiding. No more hesitating. No more stepping around what they both felt. Just two hearts that finally spoke the truth. And found comfort in the same direction. And for the first time that day, Lena felt like everything would be okay. Because she wasn't carrying anything alone anymore. And Noah, with his quiet steadiness and unspoken warmth, had become the unexpected moment that changed everything.